evening. I'm Will Norton, Dean of the Meek School of Journalism and New Media. It's my pleasure this evening to start the program, a busy program, and to keep us moving along. This evening we will meet and honor the recipient of the 2017 Samuel Talbert Silver M Award, the highest award for professional journalism presented by the University of Mississippi. We will meet the Meek School's Taylor medalists and additional recipients of university honors that were presented earlier this month in the Gertrude Ford Center for the Performing Arts. We will meet undergraduate students selected for Dean's Awards based on their classwork in and service to the Meek School. We'll present the Overby Award to the departing editor-in-chief of the Daily Mississippian. We'll meet and induct the next class of Kappa Tau Alpha scholars and hear about and from our Silver M honoree. Our MC for this evening is Scott Feeney, Assistant Dean and Assistant Professor, who directs the undergraduate degree program in Integrated Marketing Communication. Please welcome Professor Feeney.
Thank you. And before we get started with the awards, I want to first thank Shannon Dixon and Paula Hurdle, who are the two people that organized tonight's event. So if we could give them a round of applause, please. So what I'd like to begin with is recognizing those who received university honors. And these people were honored actually on April 5th at an event at the Ford Center for Performing Arts, but they certainly merit more attention here tonight. So please stand as I call your name and remain standing, and everyone else, please hold your applause until each group is recognized. The first one is the university's highest academic honor. It's the Marcus Elvis Taylor Medal, which only 1% of the university's 20,000 undergraduate students receive. And to be eligible, you have to have a 3.9 or better average GPA. So this is really the cream of the crop. And this year, we're just delighted that there are 4 Meek School students who receive the Taylor Medal. Again, please stand when I call your name. Natalie Seals, Olivia Morgan, Towsley Leak, and Hannah Cohen. Let's give them a round of applause. Several additional academic honors were presented by the university, and they are again, and please stand again when I call your name. The awards are the Graduate Excellence Award in Integrated Marketing Communications, Stephen Kane Smith. The Graduate Excellence Award in Journalism, Georgia Clark. Kappa Tau Alpha Journalism Honor Society, the Graduate Student Top Scholar Award, Maria Hamden. The Kappa Tau Alpha Journalism Honor Society Undergraduate Student Top Scholar Award, and there are 2 of them, Jacqueline Snyder and Joseph Davis Roberts. The Lambda Sigma Award in Journalism, and this is for the best all-around Meek student, and it's Marley Crawford. And then there are 2 other awards. There's the Excellence in Integrated Marketing Communications. There are 2 students, Olivia Helen Deere and Joseph Davis Roberts. And then there's the Excellence in Journalism Award, and the 2 recipients are Samuel Taylor Ferris and Lauren Alice Layton. We also have students who were honored by selection for the University of Mississippi's Who's Who, and these awards go to seniors for their leadership and their service, and they were honored in a separate ceremony in the Ford Center on April 6th, but some of them are here tonight, so please stand as I call your name. Natalie Allen, Madeline Beck, Logan Christian, Olivia Deere, Lana Ferguson, Grant Garr, Emily Hoffman, Terrence Johnson, Towsley Leak, Kristen Lusby, Zacharias McEwen, Michaela McNeil, Anna Kate Miller, Marissa Morsat, Natalie Reed, Thomas Ruffin, Savannah Smith, Danny Thomas, Ingrid Valbuena Alcina, and Jayla Whitefield. Several years ago, an endowment was created to fund both a scholarship and an award for the person who serves as the editor-in-chief of the Daily Mississippian campus newspaper. This award is named in honor of Charles Overby, who was a former Daily Mississippian editor, was chairman of the Freedom Forum and the museum in Washington, D.C., and we're in the building that bears his name, the Overby Center. And this year's very able editor of the Daily Mississippian has been Lana Ferguson. Lana, please come forward and receive your award from Assistant Dean Patricia Thompson and Director of Student Media Center, and also Dean Norton. Thank you. We now come to the school awards. Those were the university awards, but these are the ones now that are recognized within our school. It's the Meek School Dean's Awards, and this is an honor. It was created by our school faculty several years ago, and it's limited to 10% of the program majors it's based on scholarship, it's based on service, and it's based on leadership within our school. And students were nominated by our faculty, and then selected by the final selections were members of the executive committee of our school. So as I call your name, these students will please come forward and receive their award from Dean Will Norton. And again, please hold your applause until everyone has received their award. So I will introduce the honorees. Ingrid Valbuena Alcina, Michael Blake Alsop, Alkia Batista, Brittany Brown, Clifton Carroll, Courtney Clymer, Grant Garr, Jessica Huff, Terrence Johnson, Zacharias McEwen, Mary Abby McIntosh, Marissa Morissette, Felicia Newell, Josie Slaughter, Caleb Warren, and Sumaya Young. All right, let's give a round of applause. Next on our program, we would like to conduct the initiation for new members of the Kappa Tau Alpha Journalism Honor Society. And Professor Nancy DuPont, who's the chapter sponsor, is going to present the inductees. As she calls your name, please come forward and receive your document and your pen from Dean Norton, and then remain standing on the stage, because when all the names are called, you'll be asked to recite a brief pledge.
Change of plans. Will the following inductees, candidates for induction to Kappa Tau Alpha, join me on the stage at the far end of the stage, please? Mary Lindley Albert, Alexandria Batista, Asia Bell, Hayden Kelsey Binge, Brittany Brown, Hannah Cohen, Olivia Deere, Lana Ferguson, Hannah Fields, Maria Hamden, Zachary Hollingsworth, Mary Catherine Horton, Maggie Moscow, Joseph David Roberts, Jacqueline Snyder, Carly Tate, Abby Vance. As a member of the National Council of the Society, I have been charged with the duty of administering to you the Pledge of Kappa Alpha. This society was founded at the University of Missouri in 1910 by a group of men and women who sought to form a bond of union among students of unusual achievement in leading schools and departments of journalism and communication. They believed that their own devotion to high standards of scholarship and professional conduct would be strengthened by union with students in other institutions who might join them in such ideals. Kappa Tau Alpha is the 7th oldest college honor society. As you all become a member of Kappa Tau Alpha, you should keep in mind the basic aim of a fellowship with a high level of professional and scholarship aspiration and achievement. The Greek letters, Kappa Tau Alpha, mean the truth will prevail. Also, these same Greek letters suggest 3 English words, knowledge, truth, accuracy, which indicate the purpose of our society. Our emblem is the key, oldest symbol of knowledge, and the quill upon the key symbolizes our method of communicating this knowledge to the people. Our colors are light blue, signifying truth, and gold, emblematic of worth and high standards. Please raise your right hands and listen to this pledge. I do solemnly promise to be faithful to these cardinal precepts of journalism and mass communications. Standards of education in our fields must be continually raised. Study and learning are a lifelong obligation. Industry and alertness are the marks of our calling. We must continually strive to improve the media. I dedicate myself to the highest ideals of journalism and communication, to liberty of communication, to honesty, to fairness to all, to skill and artistry, to accuracy, to truth. Do you agree with the principles in the pledge you have just heard? Thank you. Congratulations, you are now members of the Honor Society, Kappa Tau Alpha. I invite all of those who have previously been inducted to Kappa Tau Alpha, faculty and students, to stand up and be recognized. Thank you. All of you will receive a certificate, a pin, and an honor cord to wear at graduation. Top scholars will be given a plaque, 2 plaques, as a matter of fact, and a medal to wear at graduation. Dean Will Norton will distribute your honorary items. When you hear your name cross the stage, receive your certificate, pin, and honor cord. Mary Lindley Albert. Alexandria Batista. Asia Bell. Hayden Kelsey Binge. Brittany Baum, Hannah Cohen, Olivia Deere, Lana Ferguson, Hannah Fields, Maria Hamden, who is the top graduate scholar, Zachary Hollinsworth, Mary Catherine Horton, Maggie Masco, Joseph David Roberts, the top undergraduate scholar, got more. Jacqueline Snyder, top undergraduate scholar. Carly Tate, Abby Vance, congratulations to all of these fine scholars.
Thank you. And now we come to the part of the presentation of the Samuel Talbert Silver M Award. And Dr. Samir Husni is going to talk about that and introduce our honoree tonight.
Thank you. Again, congratulations, students. Well-deserved honors. You may have noticed in the audience, besides your family and parents and friends, we have a host of magazine CEOs, editors, publishers, presidents, advertising directors, you name it, because we are in the middle of what we call the ACT Experience, which is a conference that the Magazine Innovation Center, part of the Meek School of Journalism and New Media, does every year on an annual basis. And it happened to be that both events have coincided together, so that was great. First, before I introduce our this year recipient of the Silver M Award and give you a little bit background about him, I would like to ask, do we have any previous recipients of the Silver M Award present? Give them a hand. Bill Rose and Betsy Brumfield. I met our recipient in 1985. He came to school, graduate school, wanted to do a degree in journalism, was taking my course that used to be called Journalism 273, Editing by Design. His designs back then, we did have the page maker on the computer, but we were still like hand designing things and doing stuff. And his drawings of the pictures were like, wow. I mean, I've seen a lot of work, I've seen a lot of students, and like I've been doing my whole career here at Ole Miss, I've invited a lot of practitioners to come and meet and speak with the people here, with the students, like we're just doing today. Newell Turner was one of those students in the spring of 1985 in that Editing by Design class. An editor by the name of Dorothy Kalins was my guest speaker in the class. Dorothy was supposed to be here tonight and hand you the award, Newell, but her publisher needed her for some book signing. Her book is due today, so it's or something. But Dorothy spoke. Newell asked her maybe 2 or 3 questions in class. Hint for you students, always ask questions. She went back to New York, gave me a call that same week. Said, Samir, I have an editorial assistant job opening at Metropolitan Home. I would like to offer it to Newell. I said, it's in the middle of the semester. I mean, can you wait until like May? Nope. So I went to Newell. I said, how can I tell him drop out from school? So I said, like, who needs a graduate degree? You have your undergraduate degree. Those opportunities don't knock twice. Go for it. He did. 34 years later, from that job as an editorial assistant at Metropolitan Home, Newell relaunched Metropolitan Home last year as the top editorial director of that magazine. In the meantime, of course, he was not just waiting to relaunch Metropolitan Home. He edited, launched, worked on several magazines. His current job is the editorial director of the Hearst magazine design group. That includes House Beautiful, Elle Decor, Veranda, and Metropolitan Home. And I figured, like, what's the best way? How can I introduce Newell, or just like, you know, since Dorothy Kalin could not make it. So I reached to the second person that I know. I said, hey, can you send me a video, please? And a guy by the name of David Carey, who's the president of Hearst magazine, sent us this video. Let's see here. The view, enter full screen.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Carey, and I have the great honor to serve as the president of Hearst Magazines. And boy, I wish I could be there in person with you at Act 8, not only to hear all the fantastic ideas and how everyone in the room is navigating through this complex period of media, but especially to salute my colleague, Newell Turner. Newell is one of the very best, most talented, open-minded, enterprising editorial executives we have at our company and in the entire industry. Time and time again, we give Newell, these Rubik's Cubes challenges of things to solve, opportunities to take advantage of, and he always does such an amazing job. A combination of his creativity, his fantastic touch as a leader, and his core understanding of what readers want. So Newell, we wish we could be there in person to salute you with your silver M. We'll definitely give you a big toast when you return. Congratulations to you, so well deserved.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was actually really nice because David is an extremely busy man these days, and he's been great to me over my career, and I'm hoping to share a little bit of that with you because I think, given there's so many students in the room, I think there might be some interesting things to learn or pick up, or at least some things I would love to pass along to you. But I do want to start by saying it is wonderful to be back here at Ole Miss. My roots go deep here, and it's a very special place. And I was fortunate to be here at a time when the magazine program took shape. I did my undergraduate degree. I got a BA in journalism and a BA in Southern Studies, which ended up being a really wonderful combination of studies that played off of each other and really opened a lot of things for me moving forward in my career. But then I had a little short detour to law school. I did it for about a year, and I woke up. I think some of you heard Amy Lyles speak last night. She had the same experience. We woke up one day and we're like, what are we doing? And I think we probably tripped over each other running from the old law school building next door to the journalism building to Farley Hall. But we both got into this program, which is extraordinary and continues to be. And as Samir said, that first semester we had Journalism Week and Dorothy Kalins came down to speak. And she was inspiring. I mean, she's just an incredibly charismatic person and a wonderful leader. I did not leave in the middle of the semester. I did finish the semester. And I flew up because she said, she didn't tell me she had a job, she said she had an interview. She at the time was also president of the American Society of Magazine Editors, and she promised, at that time it seemed like a huge deal to fly up for one interview. She promised me a couple of other interviews. So I went up, had the interview, was meeting with the managing editor again, and I'm like, okay, what's next? I think there's supposed to be some more interviews, and they were like, no, we want you to join us. And so I joined the staff of Metropolitan Home in 1985 at the very bottom of the ladder. And I say that because everybody wants to like climb that ladder fast, even skip a couple of rungs these days. And there's nothing like starting at the ground level and learning the business from the bottom up. And that's what I did. It went wonderful. You know, I did have a couple of other detours along the way. One other thing I want to say too about that program is that it was originally funded by Meredith, which owned Metropolitan Home at the time, and Jim Autry was president of Meredith and was very instrumental in getting this whole magazine off the ground. He was a previous recipient of this award, and I'm quite honored to be among that company. I worked at Metropolitan Home, and I was probably as eager as any so-called millennial today. I'm sort of sick of the classifications of these age groups because I think we're all pretty much the same. We all have our same kind of obsessions with digital, obsessions with print, and I think that there's really less that delineates all these different generations than there are things that pull us together and make us similar. But I was very eager to progress at Metropolitan Home, and you know, I was one of those people that put in lots of hours. I took on anything that came my way. I worked for 3 editors at the time, and anything they didn't want to do, I did. I recently heard Jeffrey Katzenberg speak in New York. He was in talking to us at Hearst, and he said something that just stuck with me, and I still think about it. He said, "I've never failed giving 110%. And looking back on it, I kind of feel like I did that. You know, I just kind of never stopped putting it into what I was doing because I loved what I did. I had a little interlude at one point, though, where and it was sort of prescient because I left New York for about 2 years and moved to Dallas, Texas. I call it an early midlife crisis about what I wanted to be doing in my life. And I ended up working for a number of mail order catalogs and ad agencies, doing art direction, or in other words, really doing storytelling for them. This was before what we have now as mail order catalogs that are also magazines. We were kind of in the beginning of those stages of romancing the product, creating stories that inspired shoppers to buy. And so I had a really great experience with that, but then one day I woke up in Dallas and I was like, what did I do? I left my career in publishing, and you know, I love magazines. And so I reached back to one of my counterparts who had become the new editor-in-chief of Met Home, which was now at Hachette Publishing. And I said, you know, if there's ever an opening, I would love to come back. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, she called me and she said, I made a mistake with someone. I'd love to have you back. And I went right back to New York very fast and into my job that I had left. I was very fortunate in that regard. And, you know, I've just always loved shelter magazines. There is a drawing that I think my mother still has that when I was in 3rd grade, they asked us to draw what you wanted to be when you grew up. And there's this picture I drew of myself at a drafting board with a little bubble above my head in a building. I wanted to be an architect. Unfortunately, Ole Miss didn't have an architecture program, and my grandfather, who was a big supporter of the school, said, pick another degree. So I picked another degree, but I made it work because I came back into this category. I worked through a number of other companies. I was in New York living when 9/11 happened. And, you know, that day was very pivotal for so many reasons. But for me and my career, and a lot of my colleagues, we talked about this. That day when it happened, we had all just gotten to work. And the moment it started happening, the only thing you wanted to do was to get home. Like, the only thing any of us could think of was just get home. And I'm not sure what that meant, except that I think we all felt we'd be safe when we got there. And in talking about it afterwards, we all kind of confessed to feeling a little inferior to other areas of journalism that were much more, exciting and really seemed much more important. Newspapers reporting on wars and the economy and politics and all those things. But at that moment, we all realized that the area of journalism we were in, magazine publishing for homes and design, was extremely important, because in reality there is really nothing more important than home to everyone. So from then on, it really kind of changed how I thought about what I was doing, and I felt really excited, not just because I loved it and I loved making magazines, but I felt like we had a real story to tell and a lot of inspiration to bring to our readers. So as time went, I went through a couple of jobs, and I found myself working for an entrepreneur who wanted to launch a chain of small magazines focused on, or micro-focused on, high-end, very luxurious areas, like the Hamptons on the east end of Long Island, Palm Beach, Connecticut. We launched magazines in all of those cities. And I mention that because it was a very early move at sort of deconstructing the magazine staff. In other words, we worked with the central art department in New York, but we had teams, and I was kind of moving between the teams around the communities that we published to. And it worked beautifully. And it was as technology was really enabling us to do those sorts of things. And it was a really interesting moment for me to kind of see how that worked and be a part of shaping that. I was talking with my friend Scott Coopwood, who is doing an extraordinary job with a group of magazines in the Delta here in Mississippi. And it's not an easy thing to do, but when you have a passion for it, you kind of have no doubt that I should be doing anything else. And we created those magazines. The entrepreneur sold them. I left. They still exist. I'm very proud of them existing. But I left because I caught the eye of an editor who was taking over the helm of House Beautiful magazine at Hearst. And he asked me to join his team. I was killing myself with these small magazines. It was a lot of work, but it was incredibly exciting because my hands were in every aspect of magazine making, which I had missed for a long time. And I joined Stephen Drucker at House Beautiful, and we worked together for a couple of years, and then he was moved to Town and Country, and I was promoted to editor-in-chief, which was really an exciting moment too, because I realized this was a legacy brand. I think we talked a little bit about that last night or this afternoon. House Beautiful is 121 years old. I was the 22nd editor-in-chief of the magazine. And I took over at a time that things were starting to change very rapidly. And I mentioned some of the earlier things that I did because they all sort of played into tasks that, as David referenced, were being given me to do. Right after I got to Hearst, David was hired to be president of the magazine division, and he asked me to take a look at the shelter magazines. We were 3 independent magazines, House Beautiful, Elle Decor, and Veranda at the time, all doing well, but in the scheme and the scope of the company, where we had magazines like Cosmo and Good Housekeeping, these behemoths, cash cows for the company, they were just sort of small businesses. And he asked me to work with 2 corporate managing editors and just sort of take it apart and put it back together again. You know, magazines have been around for so long that there are a lot of things we do that we only do because we've always done them done them that way for decades. And so we had this opportunity to really take it apart and the team and put it back together again in a new way. A lot of it was to achieve efficiency, but I really like to look at it, and I now see it was maximizing of talent on the team. We are 5 years into the program of the Hearst Design Group, and it's been extremely successful and something we're all really proud of. We were, as it turns out, a prototype for changes that are happening across the magazine industry right now of magazines and companies trying to achieve efficiencies in how content is produced, maximizing people's skill sets. We have rolled this out in various forms at Hearst. Condé Nast is even taking it further and doing it sort of company-wide. And it's very exciting. There's a lot happening in our world. It's a business, print, that doesn't get any easier, but it's still very strong and vital. We were talking today about the challenges with newsstands, and some days I just go, just do away with newsstands. Why do we need them anymore? We've got a subscriber base that loves us. They subscribe and resubscribe. They are our true readers. And now we're at a point where we're starting to look at some of those aspects of the business: circulation, distribution. Why aren't we charging for magazines what they're worth? We undervalue what we produce and what messages that send to the consumer. And we're looking at those sorts of things, and I think it's very vital to the business, because I think it is the future of print to figure that out. And I think that as we figure that out, the opportunities are just going to open up more and more. What I see as the future for print publishing in particular is it's a sort of back to where we started again. I don't know if some of you students may be studying this. Magazines more or less originated out of the aesthetic movement, and out of that movement they came from small limited edition book printing. So they were sort of a merger of newspapers and small art books, and I feel like we have pigeonholed our product so much, and in so many cases, at least the big magazines, that we're all one kind of paper, one kind of printing. When you start putting them all side by side, if you covered up the content, they would all kind of be the same tactile product. We talk a lot about tactile now and how important that is and vital to the magazine business. And I think that the return to the craft of magazine making, I look at a lot of indie magazines and small publications and find tremendous inspiration in what they're doing. I think that is where our future is going in print. And I couldn't be more excited to be a part of that. I feel very fortunate to be working with such a great team at Hearst, a great group of leaders that support what we do. I think 2 years ago y'all had Michael Clinton, who also works with David on the business side. He's an incredible colleague, an incredible cheerleader for what we're doing on the editorial side and the new collaborations that we're doing with the advertisers, or some advertisers. So I'm very excited to be a part of magazine making right now. Some people keep saying, is it the end of print? It is not the end of print. I also love our digital platforms. We do them very separately at Hearst, but I see that sort of coming back around because it's inevitable. They've achieved goals that they were trying to do, which was scale. Now if they have that, they need great content, and where do you go to get good content is print. We're the ones creating things that are really valuable. But I want to close out by just thanking a couple of people. I want to say I couldn't be more proud to be here at Ole Miss, and I want to thank the university and the School of Journalism for this really incredible honor. I want to thank Dr. Norton for his leadership and guidance and inspiration. I don't think Ed is with us tonight, but I want to thank him for his generosity to the journalism department. And last but not least, I want to thank Samir for picking me up, helping open doors for me, sending me on the right path, and continuing to be a great mentor and friend in the business. I also want to thank my family, who said no to architecture, pick another degree, pick something that Ole Miss has. But that aside, my entire career, they have supported me in my passion for magazine making. And that has meant everything from flying up. My parents have flown up and helped me move from one small, tiny apartment to the next. And they've carried me through some lean times in print publishing. But they have always been there to support me, and I can't thank them enough. So I'm again very happy to be here. I'm very honored, and I want to wish all of you students incredible careers. Take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. Don't pass anything by, and always give 110%. Thank you.
Just in case you did not recognize the last name of Newell Turner, those of you who actually do any activities in terms of like physical activities, not just like me reading a magazine, the Turner Center is the same Turner,
My grandfather.
your Newell's grandfather. He's the one that told you.
Yes, he's the one.
He's the Ole Miss. So good choice, good family. We're delighted with all of you, and again, congratulations. Just quick housekeeping note, we will have dinner outside. I've ordered the best weather we can have. We are going to have the best catfish from Taylor Grocery. If you don't eat fish, I think they will fry some chicken. And they have the homemade ice cream. We'll have a gentleman by the name of Ryan Miller is going to be playing the guitar for us, so you'll have some country music. And we will end up early, so you can all be up and ready for the continuation of the ACTA experience. We have the CEO of the Trusted Media Brands, the publisher of Taste of Home magazine, Reader's Digest magazine, is going to open the ACT Experience Day 3 at 9 o'clock Eastern, which happens to be 8 o'clock our time. So we start here at 8. We follow the central time zone. And she will be followed by the group publisher of Martha Stewart Living, Martha Stewart Wedding, and Real Simple magazine. So we have a big program starting tomorrow at 8 in the morning. Hope to see each and every one of you. Everyone who received an award today, the students, if you look at the small print on the award, you are required to attend tomorrow's sessions. Otherwise, the award will just vanish. And now let me reintroduce Dean Norton for final closing word. Then you may go in peace or pieces as you wish.